Muslims understand whatever sickness we're going through, it's not new. The Habib, the teacher, the master, he came to teach. He came to cure the society of all of its sicknesses. But unfortunately, we're made to believe that the Sunnah is 1400 years old. Brother, we're living in a different time, in a different place. La wallah, it's the exact same diseases. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, please, I want you to leave this with me. The Prophet walks into the masjid one day, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, yes? Walks into the masjid and finds the Sahaba wrestling. Halal or haram? Would the Sahaba do something haram in the masjid? A'udhu billah, no. So clearly halal, they were wrestling in the masjid. Wrestling, not striking the face, wrestling in the masjid. So he, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, walks into the masjid and sees the gathering. The Sahaba, they're wrestling in the masjid, and then imagine Rasulullah walks in, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Imagine the honor, the izzah of the man. Walks into the masjid, and Sahaba are wrestling. So wallah, me personally, I can't help but think, like, you know now, not the Prophet, a Shaykh walking, jealous bro, pull up man, the Shaykh see ya bro, the Shaykh see. You know, in high school, whenever we were doing something and the teacher was coming, we had a code word. Ija. It's in Arabic, as in he's coming. Wallah, the principal knew what Ija meant, right? Because everyone says it. So imagine now the Sahaba, they're wrestling, and now the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam walks in. So you can imagine what happens to the companions. So they all, wow, embarrassing. And then he asks, he says, what are you doing? Please. Didn't the Prophet know what they're doing? Honestly, tell me something. Didn't he know what they were doing? He knew exactly what they were doing. But the hadith is not just for them, it's for every Muslim to the day of judgment. And they tell you Islam is ancient. Habibi, Islam is contemporary. Wallah, qasam. Sometimes I will read or hear a hadith or read a verse, and it's like Allah said these words in 2019 March. That's how alive the Quran is. People tell me it's old. So he walks in, he sees them wrestling. He says, what are you doing? Ya Rasulullah, marra man, let it go. Khalas, he walked in, we've stopped wrestling, leave it. But because he's the doctor, he's the teacher, and he's there to cure the sicknesses of societies. So they said, Ya Rasulullah, we're wrestling. Then he asks, why are you wrestling? Look at the salt now. Now the salt is straight to the wound. Imagine the Sahaba, Ya Allah, who's going to explain why we're wrestling? Who's going to explain why we're fooling around? So they said, Ya Rasulullah, we're wrestling to see who amongst us is who's the Rijal, brother? Has anything changed in 1400 years? Anything changed? La wallah, it's exactly the same. They're not doing anything haram. Rasulullah knows that they went, but he was worried about something far deeper. So what does he say? He said, the Rijal, the man amongst you, is not the one that can physically put down the other. Any meathead can do that. That's not how we determine who the Rijal is. Imagine how the Sahaba felt. Imagine when the Prophet is telling him, this is not how we determine men. He said, the Rijal amongst you, the man amongst you. Please, my young brothers, please don't fall for the fitna of the street, man. This deed will make a man out of you. The street will only make a thug out of you. He said the rijal amongst you, the man amongst you, is the one who, when a musibah, when a calamity happens, he can control his anger and his wrath. He can control it. He's patient. This is the man.